Around the same time I graduated high school, one of my favorite movies of all time was released. It was titled after the main character who became an inspiration for my career, Jerry Maguire. Master of the living room, king of the house calls, show me the money. You remember. You may be wondering how a black man from Boston took inspiration from a short, pompous, temperamental white man in Hollywood. Jerry Maguire is a professional sports agent, and after the film was released, I studied sports feverishly, I watched sports feverishly, I studied sport management. I even earned a degree in it. 2 years after earning that degree, I found myself in a large bay window, hanging up a buy one, get one half off sale sign in a downtown Boston Foot Locker. On one hand, I was doing just fine. I was an upward mobile manager in a globally recognizable athletic retailer. My wardrobe was definitely upgraded. I had every hat, jersey, sneaker you could possibly think of. My closet was vibrant and full, but my inner spirit was dim. My sense of purpose was unfulfilled. I felt like Jerry Maguire at the beginning of the film. He's experiencing this existential crisis, this loss of identity. And in his malaise, he pens a manifesto for the masses that actually gets him fired, but ultimately becomes the trigger for his career elevation. I'm a pretty good writer, but I chose not to write a mass manifesto. I wanted out of retail, and those close to me knew it. They did their best to console and advise me. My best friend, who just so happened to enjoy the 30% off discount, thought I should stay with Foot Locker, keep moving up the corporate ladder. My mother said apply for a state job, stability, good benefits. Another good friend of mine said maybe you should get into social work. And I was thinking to myself, well, isn't that for women and people who don't like making money? No thanks. I'll stick to my malaise. So one Friday night after work, my malaise and I were invited to a local community center. During intermission, I'm in the restroom and I'm exiting after washing my hands. And before I could exit, bursts in this 15-year-old in a panic, makes eye contact with me and says, excuse me, sir, do you know how to tie a tie? I got you. As I'm tying his tie, 3 more young men came in. One of them was relieved to see me and he said, oh, you know how to tie a tie? Can you help us too? And just like that, I went from a casual observer to a volunteer. When I went back into the audience, I watched those same young men from the bathroom strut on a makeshift stage doing their best impersonations of catwalk models. Kanye West's College Dropout is blasting through the speakers. The audience is clapping and cheering. The vibes were off the chart. And I remember this feeling I had inside, that dim, incandescent glow had become this bright, radiant sunlight. In 10 minutes of tying ties, I had more reward than in 2 years of selling shoes. About a month later, I found myself at the same community center, this time not as a casual observer or a volunteer, but as an employee. I had traded my store manager title for case manager. At Foot Locker, I probably had 100 eager teens make applications every week wanting to work there. And now as a case manager, I was doing weekly workshops on how to write resumes and how to dress for success for those same eager teens. I had found social work after all. And it turns out there are plenty of women and men who do this work. Also turns out that plenty of them do care about money. They just also happen to care about things other than material and valuables you can't find in a paycheck. The truth is, these people doing some of the most vitally important work that there is, they should be the ones screaming to the top of their lungs, show me the money. Now, more than 5 years ago, I was standing in line at McDonald's, and with me was an 8-year-old diagnosed with autism named Matthew. And Matthew had a very curious obsession with the song Uptown Funk from Bruno Mars and vacuum cleaners. No, I'm serious. Matthew could tell you the make, model, and specs of any vacuum cleaner on the market. Hoover High Performance Stand-Up? Check. Dyson Cordless with the swivel? Mm-hmm. Bissell Super Sense with the AeroSlim technology. Don't get him started. Seriously, Matthew was brilliant. So after one of our weekly trips to the Oric retailer, standing in line for lunch, and a young Hispanic man in his early 20s tapped me on my shoulder. And as I turned around, I recognized his face, but he had to remind me of his name, Armindo. And Armindo couldn't wait to tell me about how good things were going for him. They had just bought a house, and he was working full-time at a youth detention center. And that he was inspired to choose that profession because of the work I did when he was a teen at the community center. Spoiler alert, I did not become a pro sports agent. I did become a pro change agent. And what's interesting is the same skills and qualities that it took Jerry Maguire to do his job are the same skills and qualities that I brought to the communities that I did work in and in families' homes. Oftentimes when there was a really challenging young person or a really challenging family circumstance to deal with, they asked me to go and help. I had a pretty good success rate. So actually, I did become the master of the living room and the king of house calls. I'm still waiting for them to show me the money. But it's safe to say after 20 years, social work had me at hello. Thank you.